Hello, everyone. This is Jasmine again. We are back at a Notch Higher Living YouTube channel where spaces are created and environments are cultivated so that healthy relationship skills can be learned, developed, practiced, and ultimately thrive. I have a beautiful, wonderful, amazing guest, Savana Brewer, today. Welcome, Savana.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invite.
You are very welcome. Thank you for accepting, and thank you so much for allowing us to have this conversation. I'm going to do something differently today. Typically, I try to have people guess after reading a bio why people are here, but I know Savannah and I know you from our book club. A mutual friend of ours, Vanessa, actually connected us together, and I know you from our book club. But when I asked Savannah about interviewing for this show, I got her bio, and I was like, I don't really think I know Savannah. Savannah is this full person that I hadn't even known. So I'm going to read this to set you up for what you're going to listen to today. I'm actually going to start on some of her personal things. Savannah is passionate about writing and creative expression. It was inspired by her mother. She became a lover of the community as a young child on the picket lines with her father, organizing for workers' rights, excuse me. She promotes awareness of breast cancer, as you can see in her attire, suicide prevention, women's empowerment, and maternal and paternal health education. Her hidden treasures are writing poetry and short stories, motivational speaking, playing softball, and baking, but mostly she enjoys time with her loved ones and meditation. And she was born in Saginaw and primarily raised in Saginaw. Now, let me tell you about some of these credentials, some of these deets. She earned her certification as a full spectrum doula in 2021, and she supported her first live birth at age 13. I said it, age 13. She's established the Rising Stars Doula Services LLC, and that was established in 2022. She currently resides as the Director of Community Organizing and Planning with Eastside Community Network, and she's earned her Master's of Social Work with a focus in innovation in community, policy, and leadership from Wayne State University. And she also served as Secretary of the Association of Black Social Workers. She studied abroad, and she served as the International Student Researcher with the African Democracy Project, leading a comparative research study between the Ghanaians and Detroiters, health including diet and nutrition, health and safety at work, and hygiene and sanitation. She's a former executive board member and civil and human rights chairperson for the UAW Local 467, and her undergrad is in sociology at Oakland University. Now, the reason why I shared all of that is because meeting Savannah and knowing you, Savannah, I wouldn't have known any of that if we didn't have this community to connect. One, with our book club, and then two, I learned about something that you are very passionate about and the certification that you earned as a doula. So, with all of that being said, I want to introduce you all to Savannah, this extraordinary woman. She may not say a lot, but as you can hear by what she has done a ton and a lot. So I want you to share with viewers specifically, what is a doula? Because I heard about 2 years ago and you actually are certified as a doula. Can you share what a doula actually is?
Yes. So doulas honestly are persons that specialize in supporting other people. In the way that I am trained, I am full spectrum, which really means that I support women and their families during their maternal stages, so pregnancy, birth, and postpartum.
Okay.
But there are also fertility doulas to help families conceive. There are also adoption doulas for families that are looking to adopt and not really sure what all that means or how to go about it, or really just supporting them through that journey. And then
Okay.
they're also more recently end of life doulas, really working um, with persons that are um, just kind of in their final days and supporting their family through that, making decisions and different plans and things like that for how life will look upon that new journey as well. So there are different types of doulas, but really doulas are support people. And so there are a lot of doulas out there that may not have certification and may not even know that they're doing the work. But the biggest thing is really supporting, offering support, empowering families that you work with and come in contact with, sharing resources, providing education, and really working with families to help them be able to advocate for themselves. And what I will definitely say is that doulas are not clinically trained,
Okay.
so we don't
Okay.
do any um, of the medical testing
Makes
or
sense.
checks
Okay.
or exams, none of that. So no
Okay.
fetal monitoring, no vaginal checks, like none of that.
Okay.
It is truly a supportive role for
Okay.
birther and partner.
So it's more holistically and emotionally, sounds like mentally supportive.
Oh, most definitely
Okay.
emotional support is huge, mental, physical, yes, all that good stuff. And honestly, you could even, depending on one's style of practice, you really could incorporate the full 9 dimensions of wellness.
Mm,
That mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, intellectual, all of those things
understood.
really support and play into a birther during time of pregnancy, as well as the partner in the family as a union as well.
Oh wow, wow. So with your background in social work, and then everything that you have learned and your work, even as we read, what made you pursue the doula specifically? I can see that in your DNA almost is like you are that supportive person. But what made you pursue the work of and the role of a doula?
Mhm. So honestly, I don't feel that I chose to become a doula. I feel that becoming a doula chose me.
Got it.
Um, I experienced offering postpartum support first at
Okay.
12 years old when my nephew was born.
Wow.
And I found myself changing diapers,
Mm,
learning how to feed him, nurture him, care for him, put him in that swing when he would not stop crying
got
because
it.
that was something that would quiet him down.
Like, please stop.
Uh-huh. But then also kind of just being a little sister and knowing the changes that my sister was going through, even though I didn't know what we were getting into beforehand, right?
Right.
But
Right.
seeing afterwards that she was different. And I couldn't probably put it into words back then,
Right.
but she went from being my sister to being a woman and a mother.
Exactly.
And trying to understand and relearn who she was at that time, um, noticing that she may just be sitting off by herself in tears.
Mm,
And
right.
I would just, do you need a hug?
And you were 13 when your
I was
nephew was
12
born.
when my nephew was born.
You were 12. Okay.
12. Yep.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
started postpartum support at 12.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um,
And how old was your sister?
my sister at that time was 16.
Wow. So
Mhm.
16 with postpartum. Okay. Wow.
Yep, yep. And
You're 12.
so, I would, while she needed to self-care, I would watch my baby, well, not my baby, but watch the baby.
Right.
He's mine.
Exactly.
Watch the baby. I could only at that time probably cook pancakes and grilled cheese. And so, but
Right.
I would, you need a sandwich? You need,
Right.
I'm making pancakes. You want me to make you some?
Taking care of. Yes.
Yep.
Doing the
And
best.
so I
Yes.
didn't know it then, but that was me supporting her through her postpartum experience.
For sure. Exactly.
And at 13,
Okay.
Almost 2 years later, not fully, she had my niece. And
Okay.
at that time, we were living with my father. Our mother lived in another city.
Mhm.
And my father honestly just kind of came in like, get dressed, we gotta go. Your sister is having the baby.
Wow.
And the four of us, right? My sister and I, my nephew, and my
Okay.
father, we get to the hospital, and my sister gets out, and my father says, "Go in with her. I'll be back." He was taking my nephew to the babysitter.
Got it. Mhm.
And I'm like, okay. I just thought that I was going to be sitting in the lobby
Mhm.
and my sister was going to go in and have this baby appointment, and then we were going to come out and go home. I
Right.
really thought that one of my parents was going to get there and they were going to be doing whatever they needed to
You're
do.
just filling the space. That's all you're
Hmm.
thinking.
Hmm. It did not work out that way. And I found myself back in the receiving room before my sister even was admitted into a labor and delivery room. We were
Okay.
kind of off to the side waiting.
Okay.
And she was in a bed. But one thing that I learned very early in that experience was that she was not being listened to. She was telling the nurse the baby is coming now, and the nurse was saying, "Oh no, you just got here. You have time. This is how this works." And they checked her and kind of said, "Okay, now this is the waiting period. I'll be back." It couldn't have even been more than 5 minutes, and my sister is saying, "Savannah, go get the nurse and let her know the baby is coming." And I said, "Okay." And my sister is calm. She's not in a panic. So I'm just kind of like, okay, and I'm skirting along. I get out to the nurse's station, and there are about 4 or 5 white women as the nurses, and I waited patiently for someone to acknowledge me standing there. And finally, a lady said, "Do you need something?" And I said, "Well, yeah, my sister's having the baby." And she kind of said, "No, she's not. You just got here. Tell your sister to calm down,
Oh, wow.
and we'll be in when it's time to have the baby." When
Wow.
I got back to where my sister was without the nurse or anybody with me, her whole everything changed. And she was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, they told me it's not time." And she was so um, assertive and um, just firm
Yeah,
in a
she
way
knew.
that I had not seen her before. And
Right.
she says, "Savannah, tell them the baby is out now." And now I am running and I'm like, "The baby's out, the baby's out." And the nurse still is like,
Are you
"Let me
serious?
see what's going on." And when the nurse came in and checked, now she's cold everything.
Panicking.
"The baby's out. We have to get her into a room
Wow.
now."
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And so now I am so anxious and so scared. Like, wait a minute, my dad's not back yet, and my mama
Right.
not here yet.
Like, this isn't supposed to be happening.
You gotta wait, girl.
What's happening?
By the time we got her into the labor and delivery room, I'm kind of holding her hand on the side of her, and my father walks in. However, I did not know that what was getting ready to happen was going to truly traumatize me.
Mm.
Um, my sister wasn't. I could tell that she was in pain, but she's not making a whole lot of noise. So that's a little bit scary too.
Okay. Understood.
Um, and it wasn't my perception of what I saw as childbirth, right? In movies or on TV where women are
Yes.
screaming
Yes.
erratically.
Yes.
And then, they don't fully show it, but it's like you do all this screaming and then bam, appears a baby. And at one point, my father says, "Do you want to see?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, you get down there and look so that you don't do this." And I looked and I saw my niece full on
Oh my
come
gosh.
into this side of life. And I started crying, screaming, and I'm like, oh no, what
Like,
is
what is
happening?
happening?
But I can definitely say um, that prepared me for life. It scared me, but it prepared me for life in a way that I had no clue of the journey that I would be on now until this point. And so I attended my first live birth at 13, and of course, assisted
Crazy.
in postpartum support, still there with my nephew, still now with my niece. Um, and so those oldest two, most definitely, those are my babies.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so, yeah, after that, um, just my reality, honestly. My first classmate became pregnant when we were in the 7th grade.
Okay.
Um, and then once I entered into high school, it was just something that happened all the time, and it was
Understood.
often.
Okay.
And I don't know why, but my female peers, even ones that weren't in my inner circle, would confide
They
in me,
gravitated to you.
I'm pregnant. And I
Okay.
would be like, girl, did you tell your mama what your mama say? What your daddy say?
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Right.
And
Right.
right. And I didn't personally have a pregnancy story, but I definitely could say, well, when my sister was pregnant, she had to take it easy and she
Mm.
couldn't carry her book bag. And
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
kind of could share a little bit
Really
about,
still being supportive. Yes,
yeah,
very
do's and
supportive.
don'ts.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and so very supportive in ways that it wasn't like broadcast throughout the school. It could just be, hey, I'm gonna call you later.
Yes.
Okay.
Got it. Got it.
So
You were
yeah,
really
that.
chosen.
Mhm,
You were
mhm,
really chosen.
mhm, mhm.
And
Most
it's
definitely.
interesting because your first experiences, literally, you were thrust into those
Oh yeah,
experiences.
yeah.
So it makes sense of how you're like evolved and you have evolved into a full spectrum doula.
Mhm.
What's interesting to me is that I was going to ask like what are some of the services that you provide, but you've shared the services that you provided with your first two your first two pregnancies with your sister,
Yes.
even with your friends a little bit.
Mhm.
But like you said, some people aren't certified as a doula. So now that you have very much so experience both spectrums or both sides of
Mhm.
someone who was you just did what you needed to do when you
Mhm.
needed to do it. But now that you've been certified, what are some of the skills that you've learned that you now implement on your clients, or what's been helpful for that? And I know it has been, but I'm grateful, and I'm just going to honor and give you your flowers that you were courageous enough, and even if you didn't think it was courage, that you stepped up to the plate. Because I would tell my sister when she first had her baby, I was like, please, please, please don't have this baby in the car. I would drive as fast as I can. But let me tell you, I will not be able to. People are like, oh no, no, I won't. No, I don't have the baby now,
Understood.
okay? So
Understood.
I give you your flowers. So what
Thank
are
you.
some of the things that you would share now?
Yeah, so some of the services for sure, just in that comes with certification.
Okay.
Definitely, the first off, let me just say, my instructor and the training that I went through Sisters in Loss Training Services,
Okay.
based out of Maryland. They are Erica McAfee is God sent, to be totally honest. A very long time family friend who
Okay.
is really just family at this point. Anisha Stanley, who runs and operates Full Circle Doula Services, is who connected me to training.
Okay.
Just in um, learning more about her story,
Okay.
and her experience with pregnancy loss, um, and my desire to tell her that one day when I grow up, I want to be a doula. And she supported me and encouraged me throughout my training. And so I definitely give her flowers as well. But through training, first off, I just have to say that I learned the business of having a baby and what that looks like. The just the healthcare industry as a business. You get the full lowdown rundown of how women and families are. Their process of birth is rushed in a sense because we need this bed, we need another family getting in here, because the more births we do, the more cesarean sections we do, the more money we receive on the back end, and the quicker the doctor can get to their golf tournament or whatever it is that they have planned for the day. So definitely, that educational component was eye-opening for me, even though I could see somewhat during my experiences of just being in the hospital with my sister. I couldn't necessarily name it of what it was, but going through training definitely shed light on, oh, that's what this is. I get it now. But coming out of that, services specifically that I provide are support during pregnancy. So sharing resources and, really just supporting in the way of sometimes a birther just needs, or a pregnant woman just needs a listening ear. And so definitely being there to listen, definitely being there to say, I understand, and have empathy, and then say, and here is how you can go back to your doctor and tell your doctor that this is what I want, or this is what my plan is. I work with pregnant women in creating a birth plan, um, not just during pregnancy, but how do you want your birth to go? And then what is the backup in case we need to pivot from that for safety purposes for mom and baby? I offer attendance at the birth, but also even in preparing, there is working with mom and partner or whomever her support person is going to be during pregnancy, to show them, here's how you can support mom when she's having a contraction. Here's how you can kind of exercise and open up the pelvic area and just comfort her, or reassure her that she can fully listen to her body and honor and acknowledge what her body is telling her, and um, honoring that she and baby have this connection and that they can get through this, and that her body was made and designed for birth. We also offer, so let's see, that is, the attending the live birth, and then should a family want postpartum care, there's definitely postpartum services that go along with that. I do offer some limited postpartum care where I kind of stay evening or late into the night um, for some services, because getting your baby home, well, being in the hospital with the baby, you have, that the support of the staff.
Yeah.
You have family and friends that are coming and visiting, and
Right.
I'm here, and hey,
Everybody,
this is
yes.
such excitement right now.
Mhm.
But that first night at home alone with baby, um, you could kind of just be like, okay, what are we doing? What did we get ourselves into for real?
Right.
And so definitely still just being available and present
Yes.
to new families. And then at times where there is loss of a baby, then I definitely also offer services connecting to grief services and support groups, and really just still being supportive through that journey as well, because that is definitely a difficult journey also.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. It reminded me of when you talked about the day coming back home, like birth and death. When you think about, when somebody dies too, you have all of that support at one point in time, depending on if you're, you have people coming in, bringing you food or whatever. And then there's this period of time, I think we've all experienced it. And that's what it reminded me of when you said, okay, everything else is gone. Now it's just you, the baby, and your significant other, your spouse or whoever, or just you and the baby. So that quiet space, I don't want to call it dead space, but that quiet space, that realistic, I will call it a dark space, because it's like, oh, I had all those people, now I have no one. So that is a very, very emotional, supported or needed place for support, because you are by yourself, or even if you're with someone else, but it's an entirely new world. So that is a space that this doula service providing, it really meets a need that I know I didn't know, and people would know that they really, really need. So thank you for sharing all of the extra and additional services that you have. So what would you say for the Black community? Because the reason why I really wanted you on, again, to explain what being a doula is all about, but the purpose is to create a space and cultivate an environment where healthy relationship skills can be learned, developed, practiced, and thrive. In the Black community, in the healthcare period, there are a lot of disparities. So what would you think that a doula would offer moms, or families in the Black community specifically, when you talk about that support?
Mm-hmm. So the first thing, for sure, that I will say is a doula can offer them the ability to have their voices heard. I shared earlier, right, how my sister and I am saying the baby is coming, and these
Yeah.
women are basically saying,
You don't know
whatever.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. And in those moments, even right, and we were teenagers, and so I know they were even more so
Exactly.
kind of looking and saying, like, girl, bye. Right.
Right. Right.
But I think that
Unfortunately.
definitely being listened to, so many Black women report that they go unheard at the doctor, whether they're pregnant or not. Um, we definitely know that our Black men are just threats to society everywhere outside of our communities. And so, who is truly listening to them and empowering them
And giving
to
them the
put their
support.
voice?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yes,
Hmm.
that's so true.
Definitely. So,
Yeah.
I think, um, doulas can offer listening ears to families, Black expectant families. I think that they can offer that empowerment again, letting them know that they can create their own birth journey and that it's for them.
I love
Um,
that.
Specifically with the work that I do, my husband and I join forces and serve as a doula team.
You have to bring you both
Um,
on again.
okay, okay.
See if he'll come. He'll look at me like that.
Mhm, mhm. A lot of times, and he'll definitely share, a lot of times when you think about a new baby coming, all
Mhm.
of the focus is on the mom.
That's so true.
And where's dad's voice in
It's
this
a
process?
whole, yes, yes, a whole nother person on the other side of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and honestly, the family as a unit, right? It's a
Yes.
change for everyone in the household.
Yes.
And so I definitely believe um, that as we just take a look at our own history, right? If you think about granny midwives, we
Mhm.
were the ones, our ancestors were the ones birthing our babies and the plantation owners' babies as well,
That's
and
true.
caring for them and nurturing them.
That's true.
Often, caring for their babies, but having to leave our own babies
Take care.
out with
Exactly.
someone else,
Yes.
right? And so I
Breaking the support.
definitely, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I feel like we just have that spiritual connection within our community.
Mhm.
And basically just kind of saying, like, I'm here for you. I understand. I'm with you. I support you. I see you.
Yes,
Um,
that's
and I
powerful.
think that we don't get that in a lot of spaces that we are in.
No, that's so true. And you know what? I really want to thank you and appreciate for you sharing specifically that way, because you're right. That supportive space is not always there, but you said something to create the birthing journey, or yes, to create that birth journey, to know. And I think that voice is needed very much so in the year of 2022, because I believe it was 2020 when, I don't want to say the year, but the same thing happened to Serena. And I mentioned her because she's known all over the world. But she, to your point, had to make sure she was heard specifically, where they were like saying, like, oh no, that's not what this is. And she said no, she needed specific care, and she needed what she said she needed. So yes, our voices are empowering, but they do have to be heard. So I want to ask you specifically, for people who want to work with you and your services, how can they connect with you?
So, Rising Stars Doula Services. I'm going to just be really 100 with you,
Yes.
Jasmine. We
Yes.
are word of mouth.
Okay.
And you can, for folks that are interested or inquiring about consultation or really want to have a sit down
Hmm.
with our doula team, they can email at risingstarsdoula@gmail.com.
Okay.
That is RISINGSTARSDOULA @gmail.com.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll go from there, is what you're saying.
Yes.
All right. I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna take this all home, and we're gonna tie a beautiful bow on it. As a doula, what would you say to someone who doesn't think they, I want to say, are worth it, or if that's something that they need? I want you to give a voice to the support that you know that you can provide. And maybe not you, maybe someone's in a completely different state or a different country, but speak to the person who would not have someone to be able to encourage them if they are expected to make sure that they at least consider the work of a doula.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, good question. So, first, I mean, I'm gonna just back up a little bit, but it's definitely gonna lead into the importance of or how doulas can definitely how they have an important and
Yeah.
impactful role on families.
Hmm.
So, Black women are 3 times more likely to die in childbirth
Yeah.
than other counterparts. And I say that to say that all of us, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, need support and help in any walk of life. It don't matter if you're buying your first car. It don't matter if you're trying to learn a new recipe.
Yes.
You need someone to be able to say, "No, nah, put a little bit more rice
Right.
sugar in that," or
Yes.
no,
Agreed.
that they look at the miles on that. That ain't maybe what you want to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I love it.
and so I'll start with just sharing. My parents needed a doula when I was born. My mother woke up in the middle of the night and found that the umbilical cord was hanging out of her. She
Wow.
woke up my father and alarmed him. He got himself, my mother, and my sister in the car. Kind of similar in the sense where he dropped my mom off, was
Okay.
taking my sister to a babysitter. And by the time my father got back to the hospital, a gentleman in the waiting room said to him, "That's your baby there in the incubator." And my father said, "No, no, I just dropped my wife off. She hasn't had her baby, our baby yet." And he had no clue that my mother had been rushed into an emergency C-section. As I was losing oxygen, the cord was wrapped around my neck.
Oh my gosh.
And so my mother underwent that process by herself.
By herself.
And right, and this is a married woman, right? And so you would think
Right.
that, oh no, that's all the support that you need. But she had to unfortunately undergo that by myself as my father was taking care of other business, right? And so
Mm.
I think that having a doula, right, offers an extra amount of support, that extra layer to be able to
Yes.
say, I'm here with you. You're going to make it through the other side of this, and we're going to all celebrate together.
Right.
After I was born, my mother did not return to work. She suffered postpartum depression, and from family members and from my father, as to what I understand, wasn't really quite the same again after her second birth. It was totally different from her first natural birth,
Okay.
where she returned to work and kind of snapped back.
Right.
And that just wasn't the case. And I definitely believe that had they had a doula, that could have been another layer. My father, as most people that are living their lives every day that don't necessarily have um, professional or
Bandwidth.
clinical
Yes.
training in
Mhm.
what depression, just depression alone looks like,
Yes.
but then what postpartum depression looks like, may not notice that
Sure.
someone is slipping away or slipping further into a dark space, where a doula would be able to kind of pick up on it or just kind of have these check-ins to
Mhm.
make sure that everything is going okay, or then to even begin to notice that maybe something isn't right and maybe I need to offer this person support services or professional services to be able to talk and
Exactly.
get a support
Exactly.
group, or
Right.
just share about their experiences and any trauma that resonated during such time.
Right.
And so I definitely believe that doulas are important, for mom, for the partner or the birthing, support person, dad. And let me just say that dads can go through postpartum depression as well. A lot of people
Speak
do
about
not
it.
know that or don't, highlight that, but it's real. It is a change for them as well.
Very true. Very true.
And so the, the the role that doulas play is significant. Again, there's no medical training, um, and they're not the ones making decisions for what should happen for
Mhm.
you during your time, whether it's birth, whether it's pregnancy, whether it's bereavement,
Right.
um,
Right.
but they are really holding your hand and letting you know that whatever decisions you make will be the best decision for your family.
Wow.
Mhm.
I did not know your story. You seriously have been chosen for this work. And like you said, your parents could have benefited greatly for this. So um, I just want to pause and honor your your story, your journey, your parents, and for all of the work that you have done and are doing. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was very touching and very real to you. I know now. I understand it in a fuller way after hearing what you said. So um, you really wrapped up this segment so beautifully by talking about support and letting people know at any level we need support. And I think specifically, like you're saying, in the Black community, because historically and culturally, we were not given support or support was taken and violently taken from us. Now it's time for us in the 21st century to use our voices to take back and to create and to design spaces and places where we have that support. So I want to end this segment thanking Savana for coming on. Thank you so much. And for you confirming the importance of support. I'm going to have all of Savannah's information where you can reach her. If it's not somebody that you can reach, we're in Michigan, but I will check with you, Savannah, to see if I could put something, if there's a national doula association or something of that nature, so that people can have that information. And I am actually going to offer, I know there are support lines and support connections that I will put just specifically because it may not be something for expectant mothers, but if you need professional services or if you need mental health services, we do need to know and normalize that it's okay to ask for help. So thank you. Until next time, we are still going to create this space and cultivate this environment where people know that you can have support, you can have healthy relationship skills. It's a learning process. We need to develop it. We have to practice, and that's the only way that we're going to thrive. So until next time, have an amazing day.